Recording in progress.
Congress unmuted.
We have a green light. All right, it's 7 o'clock and I'm going to call the meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is any additions or deletions. Is there anything?
There are two additions. One is liquor licenses and
They're
one is
in the agenda under 5.2 and 5.3.
Yes, these two, adding
Motion to add them to.
Yeah. add covered bridge RFP postponement as item 5.2 and liquor licenses item
They're both in
5.3.
your agenda.
Yes, I just added them all today. So
I would like to make a motion to add the covered bridge request for proposals postponement as item 5.2, and also to add liquor license as item 5.3 to the agenda.
I'll second.
Motion made by Cynthia and seconded by Matt to add the agenda item 5.2 for the covered bridge RFP postponement and the 5.3 to add liquor licenses and such. All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any opposed? There are none. The motion carries unanimously. All right. Public comments. Now's the time for anything that's not on the agenda and anybody either on the Zoom call or in the room to weigh in on whatever.
there is no one on the Zoom call.
Okay. So there are no public comments, so we can dispose of that. The next item is minutes of the previous meeting. Make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting as presented.
Second.
Motion is made by Cynthia and was Jamie, you said, and Jamie seconded to approve the minutes of the previous meeting of 12/16. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. New business. There is apparently a statutory addition to our town government where the state has asked every town to add a ethics liaison. And is that a state appointment like the THL?
It is very big and they didn't really talk about it. It's more of almost like a database person. It's the person with whom the state will send emails and that person will get confirmations every time someone takes the ethics. So they're in charge of keeping track of who has and who has not done the ethics. And they're the one the state will hold accountable for getting this done.
Okay. So those trainings, as I understand, them, are a requirement of select boards and other officers?
Yes, large portion of town officials.
A large portion.
And it's a 45-minute training. Online, very easily accessible. They say it must be a staff member, so it needs to be, it cannot be an official who is it. So I'm happy to do that and be the person who records all these sheets.
How will you know when we're taking?
They send emails.
They send an email.
So in other words, if I took it, you would get an email, hey, she
Saying
took
you've
it,
completed.
she failed, but she took it, and
Yeah.
no, sorry.
Yeah, they're the person with whom the state will correspond on all of this paperwork. So
Basically everybody in elected positions or appointed positions.
all but a handful of appointed positions like fence viewers don't need to take ethics. It's things like that, but all user boards, advisory committees, people on the firehouse committee wouldn't.
What about the constable?
The constable, we don't have a constable.
I know, but I think you should take it.
But yes, constable is covered in that. But yeah, there's a long
You should
list.
have a constable.
That is a conversation for next year's town meeting. I had a conversation with Bob Perry about that. In any case, the point of this is,
With trust.
I think so.
yeah, it's,
One of my, I'm just thinking out loud as part of the board on this topic that I know Nick can easily accomplish that, but he definitely has a lot of other things on his plate. Is Janet also a logical person to designate as that person?
you can even designate one person and an alternate or something.
I think we need to consult with Janet before we.
Yeah, for sure.
That's fine with me if you want me to do that.
Yeah.
How do you feel
Janet,
about
what's
it?
your
You're
workload
okay?
and how do you feel about that if it was added to your workflow and your workload?
I mean, I honestly don't know too much about this, but from what I'm hearing, I think it is doable.
And also, it's only gonna be, we're all gonna take it.
It's really
and then it's gonna be
administrative.
done.
It's
Right.
just
And
an
then maybe every
administrative
couple
and
of years, we
filing.
have to take it, she has to track the emails, you know, and then if we don't do it, she has to say, Cynthia, you better do this, you know.
Well, that's why I was thinking maybe it's better for Janet because it is the tracking and the file, you know, keeping it in the folders.
Why don't we
and-
ask Janet and then Nick supporting her, and we check back on this to
Okay.
see, we're gonna be taking it, so we need to monitor this, make sure it makes sense.
Janet's on
If
the
Janet's willing, does that
Yeah,
make
that
sense?
sounds good. Sounds
Okay.
good.
All right,
So we'll just need a motion to appoint.
motion to appoint, Janet Berry as the ethics liaison, assisted by town administrator Nick Zeiss.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion made by Cynthia and seconded by Matt to appoint Janet Berry, the town administrator, administrative assistant, to be the ethics liaison with help and assistance from the town administrator. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Boy, we forceful executive.
Thank you.
All right, so the next thing is the 5.2, the covered bridge RFP postponement. Can you just fill us in on what that
Yep.
is and why?
The primary bidder that we were hoping to bid on this has been really pulled out because of workload this year. We were already kind of cutting it close by trying to get a project scheduled this spring with an RFP out this spring. So postponing the project for 1 year would give us opportunity to bid this in the course of the next couple of months and
For-
get it on the calendar
for the
here
20
for next spring.
Fix spring.
Yes.
Okay.
So I've updated the capital plan and things like that for later in tonight in anticipation of this. That we would postpone the date for that this is due until say June, and then with a bill date in next spring,
A year later.
a year, yeah. Same specs as this year for, but 26 is for the build window. But with a delayed deadline to a date in June would be the preferred option or something.
And
like that.
just to note to the board, the contractor that's in question has worked on the bridge before. He knows that, and there's not many in the state that know
This is the
covered
really,
bridges. So it's not one of those things where we can just go find somebody else.
And they would be interested if it was next year, right?
Right, correct.
Yes, yes.
Correct. So we're getting in line
So
ahead of
unfortunate, but
that build season.
we need that kind of level of skill and experience.
Exactly.
Do we need a motion on that?
I think so, yes. Question.
I just had a question about the state, whoever the state inspector was that said that these repairs need to be done is going out another year, okay, with the bridge staying open.
So when Nick and I were down there and we were down there when they were,
Okay, you were there.
Yes. He's like, these are repairs that need to be done according to when the town can get them done. He didn't give us a
I
specific
just didn't
date.
know what.
No,
you
he
know,
didn't give us a specific
Yeah.
date, but he
We
said
should,
these are
you know,
things that need attention.
Post it to
So,
certain
a year-
limit or,
No, he didn't say that it had to be done this year.
okay.
We were hoping to get it rushed in and that we would have a couple really good bidders. That's not the case. So,
But if that's the phrasing he
Pushing it.
used, he understands
Right.
the limitations.
I mean, it
of
would have been good if we could have
contractors.
done it this year, but it
Yes.
sounds like we can go to
Yeah.
next year. And we-
There's only
and we
a
can
handful of
monitor
guys that
the
do it all.
situation too.
right, and they'll be down to do another inspection and
Yep.
such like.
Catch any problems.
So the date that I'm having, working off of for this would be June 13th would be the bid due deadline. And
For work next year.
For work in 25.
My only
No, in
question there,
26.
Yeah.
for working 26,
26.
my only question there, is that going to give the, I mean, building supplies change dramatically. I think June might be too soon. Only because of the volatile market right now with building supplies.
But it would,
And I
but it's interesting, it would be interesting to know, the problem is we wouldn't want to lose our place in line. I mean,
No,
are
but-
they accepting jobs for next year, you know, those companies?
Yeah, I mean, we could do like September, that gives us a quarter of, and if they're
I mean,
pulling
could we
prices
check
in
in with some of
August.
the
That gives us
companies?
6 months or better.
Yeah.
Which would be a lot closer than
Yeah, that would be a September
8
5th.
or 9 months. out.
Yeah, September 5th would be before the first meeting in September.
Okay. Good question, Mark. That was important.
I just. I
Yeah,
wasn't
no,
there.
he said that they needed to be addressed, not
Not
immediately,
Right.
Yeah. And this,
but
I just don't want somebody going through the bridge and then all of
Right.
a sudden, you know, coming back on.
There's splash.
we definitely wanna, and we also don't want the bridge falling over because of waning, and this repair is more comprehensive than just that underlay. This includes working the trusses and all that stuff, it's everything.
Is there any reason to put additional guy wires or something on it?
no.
I don't think that
I wouldn't say
Just
that.
asking.
Making it.
No, I appreciate you asking.
No, that's a good question. Good. All right, motion was made by Cynthia.
Not sure we.
Nobody yet.
Nobody made a motion.
So I would make a motion to move the covered bridge RFP out to a September 5th deadline for proposals.
Second?
Motion made by Cynthia, or right by Jamie, and seconded by Cynthia to move postpone the RFP covered bridge proposal deadline to September 5th, did you say?
Yes.
September 5th of 2025. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Now the liquor licenses. There's a second-class liquor license and tobacco license for Dollar General. And these are only verbal approvals, no signature required. And there's a tobacco substitute endorsement, a tobacco license, the second-class liquor license for Stewart's.
So I'm gonna do the second-class liquor and the tobacco license for Dollar General at once.
That's fine.
I make a motion to approve the second-class liquor license and the tobacco license for Dollar General as presented.
Well, second.
Motion made by Cynthia and seconded by Matt to approve the second-class liquor license and tobacco license for Dollar General. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, I make a further motion to approve the tobacco substitute endorsement, the tobacco license, and the second-class liquor license for Stewart's Shops Corporation.
Well, second.
Motion made by Cynthia and seconded by Matt to approve the tobacco substitute endorsement, the tobacco license, and the second-class liquor license for Stewart Shops Corporation. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. On to old business.
Okay.
Budget is the next line.
Okay, so my proposal here is to do an overview of the budget and then jump into the executive session to have the staff compensation discussion. Exit, come back, finish the discussions of budget. And then check the capital plan and then do the town meeting warning. The reason for this is the town meeting, the operative item of tonight with deadlines in the near future, which is a February 2nd deadline, is the warning get posted. So the warning, which means any decisions on CRFs and adjustments to the warning need to happen in the
Need to
next
happen
week.
tonight.
Tonight or at a special meeting if for whatever reason we can't get there. So I will share my screen with the most current budget. Christian is on the line.
Welcome, Christian.
Okay.
You might be muted, but I'm sure you heard me.
Okay, so we are so the magic number we've been looking for at the end of this is the cash on hand number. That number, with all the final adjustments is $276,146.25. That includes adjustments that were made this afternoon, related to, yes, there were adjustments from that were later in the day associated with this bridge reimbursement. The reimbursement for the Benedict Crossing study had been filed in the wrong place that we caught today. So we wanted to make sure that manifested into the correct place. And Christian, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, that with the way that was adjusted, but this current, I will also preface this with, remember last year we had a 16% tax decrease from the previous baseline. The current property tax number, not including raises or anything like that, is a 5.9% increase.
In property tax to be collected.
Property tax to be collected based off of where we were last year. Still a modest decline because we still are sitting on $276,000, down from the unprecedented number we had the previous year.
Question, Cynthia?
2 questions. What was our goal for cash on hand?
I believe it was 3 months, which we couldn't, if we save, yes, 3 months, which is not quite this. If we keep all of this liquid, which is not offer an article to save any of it, and then, or we place funds from that into the operating account by increasing budget lines, but not intending on spending that, adding more contingent spending.
Right, so we would want to keep most of that because we want to have cash on hand.
And importantly, we still don't expect that next year's cash on hand figure will be quite this high.
Right.
So we do
wanna
want
be
to engage
careful,
in some income smoothing,
Right,
which can either manifest through a validated article, like the proposed 50,000 here, or the 100,000 we did last year. Or what my preferred option at this point, seeing these numbers, would be and not run any article at all and insert that some amount of buffer that we into the budget to account for unforeseen contingencies. As I talked about throughout this budget process, I typically do not build in a whole lot of contingent saving or spending that we do not have a specific purpose for. But we do have the option of, if we move this 50,000 to any line of the expense lines, the numbers will be exactly the same.
okay, so that's the cash on hand. We want to continue, to be conservative, we would want to hold some of that on hand into next year, right?
Yes.
Not spend it, not return it to the voters, not put it in an article.
Well, and returning it to voters would be, yes, exactly.
When it might be nice to return some of it to voters, but we need to be sure we have, okay, and then over to the right of that, the 228,000, what is that?
So that is the sum of the delinquent taxes due as of January 1st and the penalties and interest associated with those. Those come directly from our outside auditor. So the raw cash on hand less less liabilities is this gross number. So then you subtract out that, then subtract out the bridge adjustment that was made.
How is cash, how is 220, how is that a liability?
It,
It's due us.
yes, it is. Yes, but it is,
Essentially receivable.
yes,
It's an account
that's exactly
receivable.
it.
It's
Yeah,
receivable.
It's account
Account
receivable, yeah.
So it could.
It's like a debt, I mean, it's a debt.
Right, like we could budget this and budget some amount of that that spending into the budget. We typically, as you see right here, that line, that is the sum of the three lines right here, in the current budget, the C 6 through 8. And as you see, I eliminated the budgeted taxes because they did not have, or the budgeted delinquent interest because they did not have an offsetting expenditure associated with them. And the best way to account for that is not to spend money that didn't have an expenditure associated with it. Or not to plan on that offsetting taxes, which is
Right.
inherently we were doing. in the
Right, and we
past.
don't want to do that. I just want to make sure I
Yeah.
understand.
No,
the
I'm
numbers.
glad you're.
And that
asking.
seems high, that seems high. If I think of past years, I don't know what you have in your head for, I seem to remember it being like 120,000 or 100,000, what's still due. So that seems a bit high, but,
I've seen it higher, I've seen it lower.
Okay.
It peaked at over $400,000
Yeah.
2 years ago.
oh, really?
Yeah,
That is the proximate cause of the extreme volatility we've seen in tax rates. That's why taxes increased so much last year, because
Okay,
a huge portion of them came in one budget year. But we've now gotten proper guidance from our auditors about how we book this income, this receivable. So it does show up in our trial balance. That is what and ensuring that all of these are booked as receivables are what keeps the trial balance balancing. So
One more question over here.
yes.
so up at the top where you have net base budget change, the 86,571, would I be correct in thinking that we're not talking about any wage increases, salary increases, we haven't done that yet. But that is showing the net change in expenditures. It's like some things went up, some things went down. So that is sort of the increase in expenditures, the net increase in expenditures, 86,000?
Yes, that is the number that is the change in the baseline operating budget. And as is graphed here over in the charts, that's the number that is used as the 100% number for this healthcare as a fraction of total spending increase amount.
So that
This
whole
whole pie
is
is that of the
86,000,
increase.
okay. And 86,000, if we think about it in terms of, now you've already said that as a percentage of all property taxes, that's probably about 5.9%. But in terms of property tax rates, is that about 2.5 or three pennies on the?
About 3 cents.
Yes, that's exactly.
And
how
so
it
what is
works.
that, like $30 on a $100,000 house, something like that?
Something like that.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, I just have to try to translate these magnitudes from the big ones to the little ones and how people will
Well, and that's
experience it.
Important in how you explain it, right?
Well, and how I understand what I'm doing. I mean, I
Yeah.
want to understand what
I've
I'm doing.
added a lot more explanatory statistics in this budget, and I'm glad you're seeking out the answer to what all this means. 'cause
I'm
it-
trying.
No, thank you, because it really is, going through the process of adding all these has really helped me learn the budget better than I've ever felt about it. I feel a lot more comfortable with the fact that all these numbers are all adding up the way to what they should be across weeks and across calculations.
Yeah.
So yes, that base budget number is what I use as an important guidepost in where is the budget going from the very beginning, as we change lines and things like that.
So what else do you think we should be looking at before we go into executive session? What would you want us to look at?
So,
I mean, I did look at Steve's, but I wasn't sure. I mean, it summarized the different departments, but I didn't know that it really helped me with this kind of decision.
Yep.
I mean, I saw the graphics, the capital. What else should we look at to get ready for?
no, I think that's a big one. This 5.9% number is an important baseline that says, okay, all the stuff that's in the budget with our cash on hand, with that phase of 16% decrease last year, where are we going? And this is actually a much more modest increase than before raises that. than we were
But
originally
what does
expecting.
that assume happens to the cash on hand and the delinquent tax collections, the
So-
5.9%?
So the delinquent tax collections are not budgeted.
Okay, then
They-
we're not talking about them then. When we say 5.9%, what does that assume happens to the cash on hand?
So that takes the final cash on hand, the general fund to be returned to voters, and that says all all money that is otherwise in the cash on hand that is not otherwise eaten up by other spending increases is returned to voters, or all that amount is returned to voters.
And returning all that to voters, in other words, putting it on the bottom line before we raise taxes, still results in,
So if I zero out that highway surplus article, you can see that
well,
is.
what, it just went to 2.9%.
That's when you.
That's
taking
when
that
I zeroed out the
50,000.
highway surplus article. That's the equivalent of either adding $50,000 or taking $50,000 out of the cash
Okay.
on, or removing $50,000 that we pulled out of the cash on hand.
But it's assuming the 276 is going to the bottom line before we
Correct.
raise taxes. Now, where is our cash on hand gonna come from next year?
And that's the question.
So
Um,
how can we possibly
So
return all of that to
So
voters?
the way that we would handle that is instead of offering a savings article, it's add to lines within the operating budget in anticipation of not spending it. That is adding $30,000 or $20,000 in healthcare in case we do get some staff transition change right away. Or adding further contingency funds into other funds that we know will be a challenge to spend. For instance, the rebuilding line, that in highway, that is one that we famously use for that. We add the money into a contingency in case a natural disaster hits. And that natural disaster, which we budget $35,000 for, we are budgeting $55,000 more for, and that is taking cash on hand to that. And that line we only use for two purposes: mud season materials and paying for contractors during emergency. So moving that from cash on hand to the operating budget would allow us, and then not spending it would carry that forward in cash on hand to the next year, thus smoothing the budget in anticipation of less cash on hand the following year.
Okay, now, I think we've done this before. Because the
Yes,
only way we
we
can,
have.
the only way we can quote unquote save money is by putting things in the highway surplus
In the budget.
money.
Well,
And
no,
sometimes we need it, and sometimes we don't.
not necessarily only in the highway. It could be in other departments. We could put it into the administration department and say, what if our structure of government changes? Like we did last year in anticipation of a potential change in the lister's office, where we budgeted for an assessor. And then this year, we reallocated that funding to other purposes. For instance, there was $4,000 allocated to assessor healthcare, which shows up, I won't scroll, but that money was zeroed out this year. But we could put money in case, like say the lister's office disintegrates mid-year and we have to call a special town meeting. We could budget in anticipation of that. Or we could add money to the town hall repairs budget. Oh no, we are afraid of there being major repairs to the building. So we could give ourselves more contingency by adding to certain lines that we know are going to be less easy to spend down.
Okay, so the problem is that this is all without knowing what the compensation changes are gonna be.
Correct.
So I can't finalize this and how much
Until
has
we
to
do
go
that.
back until we do
Yes.
that.
Which is why I wanted to move up the executive
All right.
session, have that
I'm sorry, it just took me a
conversation.
while to get there, so.
This is more or less the summary.
Right,
page.
but I understand
As long as we
way
know
more than I
those
did.
numbers and where they're coming from, I think then
Yes.
we can go ahead and.
Yeah, before we approach that, it sounds like there may be some sense that the best way to do this, and the best way for our auditors to do this, would be to add money back into the operating budget rather than putting it to a specific savings account that then can only be reallocated by taxpayers at town meeting. That is what it sounds like. There may be some sense of.
That's what
And
the auditors are saying.
yeah, that's certainly what.
It
the
makes
auditors
more
say.
sense to me to move it to some line item that we,
Multiple line
or multiple line items, but that are hard to spend down.
Yeah,
Right.
that would be the.
It would be
most
really
sensible
nice
thing.
if we could just have an honest contingency fund that
Well, I
holds
know,
the
you know,
cash on hand.
normally
I
we
mean,
would
I
just
don't
say
like padding lines. I mean, why do
contingency
we have to
and
go around padding lines and saying they're higher than we think they're gonna be? I mean, if you know, and I mean, I think we can always allow, if we're saying, well, we're gonna allow in case there's a disaster here or a disaster there, you know, okay, we can do that, but you know, it's like these auditors want you to be all clean and above board, and then you have to do these contortions to try to do what you wanna do. They're the ones that said we had to have cash on hand.
Well, and importantly, one thing that you can do, and you can think about this is probably not the year to do so, but in a future year, we might want to think about putting together a sinking fund that is a non-highway emergency contingency. Because and explicitly calling it that. And because you have the ability to flex money and spend money from a non-highway account in highway, but you cannot do the opposite. So we created a highway contingency, or typically when we've done that, or when we needed this or used this, we've used the special highway fund that kind of does this for highway. But we could offer an article at some point that says the town contingency fund, and this is where we offer articles regularly when we have surplus, and we put money into that fund that can be drawn by voters or reallocated by voters at town meeting, or drawn down by the select board for purposes that are unforeseen. That's viable. It's something that you can do, and you can absolutely offer articles that set up an account or a sinking fund.
I just think you have to be careful though, because when we have insurance, I mean, if there's damage to the building, we have insurance on different things. And I think you have to be very careful that it doesn't strike the voters as if
Yeah.
they're crazy. Flux money, I mean, we don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And typically we put more buffer than this into like our personnel costs. We budgeted, like, when I got here, I think we budgeted like $40,000 more than the highway actual operating budget for highway staffing, for just the base labor line. And I think that had to do with some uncertainty in where the department was going, but that certainly was how it manifested in that 2020 surplus when we had $450,000 from 2020 into 21.
Also, it depends on the winners.
It really
For
depends
sure,
on winners. We do experience like substantial volatility, and what we're all trying to get at is some degree of smoothing of long-term income and tax rates. But yes, the Vermont system really makes it hard to smooth tax rates.
Can we ask Christian if she has anything she needs to say to us?
Yeah, actually, can I interject for a moment?
Like,
Nick, when I'm looking at your budget master sheet here, the reimbursement to the CRF bridge, that's included in the 582,961 already. So you're actually subtracting it twice. So the cash on hand should be 354,673.
Okay, I was confused because when I looked at that this evening, I did not see that the due to fraud had increased when the balance in the bridges fund had increased. But I think I see what you did moving it from somewhere else.
Yeah, I took it out of the highway and I put it into the CRF bridge. So all those funds are in the due to from accounts.
Okay, I apologize for that. That was something that what I didn't want to do was budget cash on hand that wasn't there. And when I saw
that was included in there. So I just didn't want you to subtract
I had
that
a little
twice.
panic attack.
Christian, is there anything else you would like to direct our attention to, or any comments you'd like to make?
Not at this moment. It's been a great experience so far, learning all this. So
thank you for all of your work.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for all your work.
Well, that's one heart attack averted for the evening. I apologize for the confusion there this evening.
No, it shows how these things are unfolding, you know, as we're going
In
along.
real time.
You know, so.
Yes, in real time.
So it sounds like, so now that we see our base budget shows a tax decrease from a tax decrease, that certainly does change the game a little bit where we may want to be. So now,
but that would be with giving all the cash on hand to the bottom line to voters.
Which we're not gonna do.
We're
Which we're
walking
probably
down
not
the
gonna do.
Third Street median with a pile of cash, throw it in the air,
Okay.
or helicopter dropping it onto the town. And
Arlington confetti.
yes, exactly. So that's where we're at. So we can go into executive session, have the discussions we need to on that, come out, decide, talk about raises, and decide what we want to, what the mandate is to implement, and then the operative thing of tonight is, do we want to add an article somewhere, or do we want to put this into the budget as previously discussed? So
So we need a motion to determine the reason for the executive session as personnel, property, and legal matters.
I make a motion that premature discussion of personnel, property, and legal matters would causing municipality to suffer substantial disadvantage.
Second. Motion made by Cynthia and seconded by Glenn to establish the reason for the executive session as a personnel, property, and legal matter. Or matters. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I make a further motion to actually enter into executive session for discussion of said personnel, property, and legal issues, and to allow town administrator Nick Sias to remain in the room, and also to be joined by a highway supervisor, Mark Robinson, and a highway crew member and park supervisor, operator Willie Knight. Is that accurate?
accurate.
Okay.
Do we need Christian to stay on the line or?
I don't think so. I don't think her discussion plays into any of the personnel.
Okay.
Kristen, if we have any questions, we'll pop out. That $78,000 thing was the main thing that was hanging out there.
Okay.
Unless any of you expect to have any questions for her.
I think she
think I'm
should
good.
go. If we have questions,
Yeah.
we'll do, we'll
Yep.
find out
We can
later.
find out.
whatever. Yeah, yeah. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Okay, thank you. Take care. Have a good evening.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Recording stopped. One of those stupid
Actually
little
from
things.
tennis or
No.
from?
I think it's
Recording in progress.
There you go.
It's 8:29, we're back in open session. We want to, make a motion for the,
Salary
salary
range.
ranges.
I'll make a motion to increase base salary rates of town employees with more than 6 months of continuous service by 3%. Additional salary increases for the following job families: town clerk, 2%, highway supervisor, 2.25%, and highway crewman number 1%.
There's a second.
Second,
Motion made by Matt and second by Cynthia. Concerning the raises as specified, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
There's
So
no,
now we can go right into the budget approval, or are we there not?
we don't have to do that. We can do that at, because I need to implement some other
You need to put
pieces.
Yeah, you need to
everything in.
Okay.
But we do need to move to the warrant.
We need to, yeah.
Will we need a special meeting on Monday to finalize the budget?
We do.
Because it has to go to the printer.
Mhm.
So yes, we should plan on scheduling a special meeting for this following Monday.
And what is that, February
February-
third,
Third.
fourth, third?
Yes, February 3rd.
That'll be
And-
just to approve the
And
budget, right?
at that point, I will have the full budget and ready to go. That will be the final draft that we will approve.
Do we have to approve the capital plan separate?
The capital plan can be separate from this, so we can do that tonight.
Okay, good.
And then we do have to approve the warning tonight. If we want to move to the capital plan, that will give me a few moments to try and keep between talking and things. If you want to move to any discussion of the select board report, and the warning, as well as your item about the
Yes.
proposed article. I'm going to edit this while we sit here,
Okay.
or, I mean, I could edit the warning with an approval, but
Aren't we
and
supposed
get
to put in?
signed tomorrow, but I think the best way to do it is just edit the numbers while I'm sitting here.
So let's.
Wait, what are you editing while you sit here?
Because there was a placeholder article, I need to edit the article numbers.
For the warning.
For the warning.
Okay, just be
yeah.
careful because the warning's gonna be fixed in stone once we
I
Right.
I will
approve it.
not make an error in this. I'm glad we double and triple checked this. That's why it's, because we had made an error in a previous
Okay.
version.
Okay,
I have all my places noted. I'm gonna edit this as we sit here.
okay, okay.
And go from there.
Am I
So-
completely lost, but on the warning, aren't we supposed to have whether or not the town wants to vote Australian ballot for
Yes,
the
that is
budget?
already in here.
That's already in there.
Oh, I must have looked over it, sorry.
Let me make sure it's
So
on here.
the one item that's not in there that I think we should.
I hope it's mentioned.
There's a request for a non-binding referendum to make town meeting day a state holiday.
So that would be Monday.
It would be
Oh.
the Monday of, for people, or actually it would be,
And there was,
vote day.
we had a
No,
separate
it was
email.
town meeting day is Monday.
Yeah.
So
okay.
it does nothing for anybody in
Right.
Arlington. It would be the voting day that we would care about. So, I mean, if you're still doing your town meeting at lunch on Monday and voting everything, yeah, then you should have it
Right.
off, but we don't do that, so I
We
don't see
vote
why.
on the following day.
I mean, I'm all in favor of days off, but doesn't make sense. I'm not getting anything. I'm not asking
It would
people
only
to.
be for municipal employees because
Right.
private doesn't have to honor
I
it.
don't see it going.
I don't see it.
I don't see
It's
it.
not in
Oh,
there.
no, that's,
It's not-
Australian ballot article?
Yeah.
That is article, Article 5 up on the top. Charlottetown is not all, but.
Oh,
There it is.
okay.
Australian ballot.
I see it now. Sorry, I was reading right over it.
Yeah,
Me too.
I think I skipped because, yeah, just.
Yeah,
The
yeah, we
town
normally
office.
don't have
So
much by way
soon.
of changes at the top of these things.
Do we go first or second this year?
We went first last year, didn't we, Dan?
I think
We
we
did.
did.
Yes, we did.
So we have to go
First.
after school. Okay. Hopefully school will be fun.
Are we having a pre-meeting like we did last year? at, like, the
You guys
school or
can decide
something?
that right now if you want.
We did that last
We
year.
can
We've done that
certainly
the past
do that.
couple of years. I thought was really helpful.
I think it would be a good idea.
Were you a part of that a couple of years ago?
No,
No, he joined.
we've done it with the school though. Did it with the school a couple
Hmm.
times before.
We should try to coordinate with them. I mean, if they're having one, maybe, or
I don't
maybe we
think
should
they
have
do
it at
that.
You
different.
can authorize the town administrator to coordinate with the school
I
about
think we
a
should just
a
do it
budget
separate.
system.
Do it separate so that we're not exhausting
Pre-meeting
people, you
and,
know.
yeah. It's two of you.
Let's
So
focus
you,
on
do you
doing
just
that.
meet
Yeah.
like an hour before town meeting? Is that?
No,
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 we-
no,
we meet
no,
the
it's
day
like the
another
week
night.
before, the week
Oh,
before.
yes, we should definitely.
I think we should
It takes
definitely do
like
it, but we
45 minutes
don't,
to an hour.
we don't have to set it now.
No.
Let's focus on what's in front of us now, but let's intend to do that.
Yeah.
Because I think it can really help people,
We can go through our presentation and make
Yep, it
sure that
helps
we're all on the
us,
same page.
you know, and
Any
it
final
helps
points we can
people.
make?
Mhm.
And people, there wouldn't be as many people there, so people might not feel as self-conscious, you know, if they want to
Sure,
participate.
It may make sense to try and set a date now, because the theater is going to,
Oh,
busy.
get booked up.
there's plays and stuff going on.
That's not the only venue. in
Are we
town.
doing,
So it'd be the
No, but that's where,
final week of February.
that's where we did go the last time.
we don't necessarily have to, are we doing it in the gym or in the theater this year? Town meeting.
Yeah.
The gym, but our meeting was in
Was
the,
in the
The
theater.
pre-meeting.
But why don't we do the meeting, why don't we do town meeting in the gym? The acoustics are awful.
because it holds more people. A lot more people.
But do we have maximum
We
occupancy?
did, we would have exceeded.
We
it
would have
last year.
exceeded? Okay,
Yeah.
I'm, yeah.
24th or
you know,
25th,
You
Jim?
know, and I didn't, I'm just asking the question.
No,
Yep,
it would have
nope,
exceeded
all
The
last year.
acoustics
All of
are
that.
not on our favor in the gymnasium.
24th or 25th.
I guess it's a
I'm trying to look and
gymnatorium,
see
but
a
still.
couple dates here that just come out. I can find them.
I wish there was,
Um, Practices will be right after school. So as long as we're longer into the evening, I just can't find the actual date. But
No, we still have to have, they probably coordinate with the school anyway to use it.
you
So
don't have to put in requests for the,
we might want to just do that tonight then and just say, we give Nick permission to
Yeah, that's right.
coordinate with the school.
Saying it should.
I don't think it needs to be a motion.
It's sent to the board.
There you go.
What article was it, the non-monetary concerning the ballot?
5. About for the budget,
Yes.
5.
Oh.
Jamie, you're in
So
your
that's on the
calendar,
fourth.
right?
Yeah.
Tuesday, the 4th, that's training night, right?
Tuesdays are training nights. Actually, that would be an officers meeting.
I thought he had CPR training that night.
Oh, that's coming up. Yep, that is CPR.
Is it at 7?
Yeah, that was
6.
something I had initially
Six.
proposed for the
Thank you.
firehouse.
I may just drop in,
Mm.
right?
Question, Nick, on the,
I don't need to be
Well-
trained. I just there to observe and
Yeah.
answer any questions
Question.
anyone might
in the
have.
spirit of Tim Williams' article.
Yes.
So I'm just calling. that,
Yeah.
you know,
The Tim Williams
Yeah,
article.
In the spirit of it, should it be Florida voters or should it be Australian ballots?
State law is very vague, but at the best that we can understand it is that you to vote the transition to Australian ballot, it should be. Robin and I went over this.
Really?
It's, and the like the VLCT guidance doesn't tell you. And of course.
No, you're fine. I
But
took
the
up a lot of
best,
space.
the best, to the best of our knowledge, the most likely way that they're supposed to do this. Because like, this isn't like the treasure article where it says
These are
explicitly, you
all-
must do it
we're
by
gonna vote
Australian.
from the
law.
floor,
Yeah.
so,
1 through
there's a year in there.
I'm
for
just
it.
looking at it going,
And then there's.
if they want to vote by Australian ballot, why don't we
It is
vote by
kind of
Australian
ironic.
ballot?
I agree with you,
Vote
Dan.
from the floor.
And the whole point is,
Yep.
there'd be more people
And
to
then,
approve it,
and then these guys.
Oh, yeah.
disapprove it, have the chance to.
These are
approve
the
it or
Australian
disapprove
ballot,
it,
this is where
than
Australian.
Yeah.
On the floor, for the whole argument was 130 people, 150 people decide the
Yep.
budget.
Right,
They
it
don't
tells people
really,
what,
but
we're doing.
That was the
Yeah.
argument. But if you do it this way, the same 150 people are deciding how you're gonna vote on things. So I don't know, it just struck me as a little weird.
But I think that the one thing that is true is that the people who come to town meeting are
Yeah.
having a change. They're losing something in a sense.
Yeah.
And so they should be the one to say, yes, I want
Okay,
this
I'm gonna
change."
put this version on the table. Someone give it another set of eyes while I do this.
What is the difference?
I edited the numbering and I removed the contingency the article that
So
we
the
were thinking
11th
about,
is an
the
officers
placeholder.
meeting, right?
I also, from the version that I sent you guys, it looks like I had the numbering on. So I cleaned
Second
up the
Tuesday is
numbering.
always
Oh,
Drew.
okay.
If you can count the 36, that would be helpful.
No,
Make
they'll
sure I'm
probably
not
still do
somehow
another
counting the
drill,
36
but they
on.
gotta get the CPR.
7.
Okay,
And that's because of the rescue squad's availability
understood. So you think you'll still do 11 and the 25th
for training
for
in
training?
February.
Okay.
And then in March,
So I'll probably try and do my training on the 25th as well.
As long as you
It's
fix,
too much to go.
there's 3 Article 20s, as long as you
And
fix
then
that.
March, there's an officers meeting, right?
Oh, see one article.
yeah,
20
there
now.
should be a board meeting or a company
I
meeting.
see
Company
36
meeting,
articles
And
and
that's the
no,
4th Tuesday.
there's not 320s.
There's not 320s?
25th.
Okay, there was 320s in the initial, in the
There was
previous one.
320s.
Oh, I know. I caught that when I was looking at it and was like, that's something that needs to be corrected, but,
So that's
Um,
okay. That was the only comment I had was on that
okay.
article.
That's the biggest thing.
It seemed like it was weird to vote it on the floor, but it does make sense to vote on the floor because they're the ones
Agreed.
that are gonna lose the old tradition.
So in other words, if someone usually doesn't come to town meeting and they really want this, they should come
They
to
should
town
come to
meeting
town
to
meeting and
vote for
say
the
so.
change. Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. It's just one of those little conundrums in my head.
Yes, notably, this does lock in the increase in the highway truck fund as part of the
That
budget. We
works.
already discussed that
In the
at the two previous versions of the
Gotta get
meeting.
that corrected.
The only other
Or does he
question
have the
I
numbers
have is,
correct?
Are the sinking funds adequately funded?
2020.
I will,
Internal. sinking
That is
funds,
good.
Not the
That's what he
appropriation.
just told me, Dan did.
as in, like, should we, like?
How are we on the schedule?
Okay,
The
What do you mean the
spreadsheet?
internal?
The truck funds and the.
Okay, I will, now that's a good transition to move over to looking at the capital plan.
I'm not increasing the budget.
No, I'm
Dan,
just
can I see
saying,
that?
I just want to make sure that
I will share the capital plan. Let me scroll down
he's
to
gonna
find
share
it.
that up. I gotta have mine.
Plan. Okay. So I will hop over to the graph that will give us a nice little summary. Showing the run up in the budgeting for Benedict Crossing, but that's perhaps future bridge. But you can see them mostly slowly ticking up. We can expect to need increases in the trust fund as time goes on. As you see, that escalates from, we already increased it from 50 to, actually, this, sure about that. 60 in the trust fund. So with future increases, in the coming years, which will bring this from 60 to 75, and that we may need to escalate that even a little bit faster. But that is the one thing we're going to need to add to, and we're also going to need to add to fire trucks as time goes on. We did a $15,000 increase in fire trucks last year, a $10,000 increase in highway trucks this year. So it's as bold as I dare in capital costs. If you look at the savings as a percentage of the budget in this budget versus every budget in the last 4 years, we save between 10 and 12% of our budget. That as the budgets have increased, we have increased sinking funds in line with that in aggregate. So our savings rate continues to sit between 10 and 12%.
But we did spend ARPA money on some things that might have been in the sinking funds at some point.
Yes, and that's mostly down in here in the excavator grader, or in the excavator fund piece.
What are the asterisks in those 5 columns?
So that is the greater payment, that is the lease payment.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Runs until 2029. From 2030, that is when you see there's a $15,000 increase. That is when we are starting to save for the next grader as of 2030.
Gotcha.
So I wanted to explain the big increase in 1 year cost in 2030. That has been a feature of these budgets for like 2 capital plans. Because I don't want to get to a cliff where we are not saving enough for the next grader. That is one thing that I don't want to hand to a future administration.
Yep.
But that's that. Bridges, this incorporates a plan for replacement of Benedict Crossing as soon as we viably could save for it. It does incorporate a state grant at that time to cover inflationary costs over the coming years.
Where is the plan? It just says we magically have, what, I don't
Oh
understand.
no, we saved $1.2 million over the course of 15 years is what is, we saved $1 million over 15 years to do that. And then we suppose a state grant comes in to cover the inflationary costs, $1.2 million.
But where, is this what we're putting in the bridge fund or
So
the
this is
bridge
the
and
bridge,
culvert fund?
this is the plan for the bridge fund. You see the current.
Okay,
funding
okay,
This year, $30,000, that's what. Matt's
Oh, okay, I
performing.
got it, I got
And
it,
then
I
it
got
runs
it.
up to whatever the number is,
I got it.
$110,000 again. So this supposes, you see that the covered bridge rebuild is in 26, as discussed earlier. There's some repairs to another bridge.
So as of right now, barring manna from heaven, we're not replacing Benedict Crossing until 2041.
Unless we want a much more aggressive bridge fund, or we place one-off articles in surplus in the coming years. And
Okay, I just want to be sure so that I can explain to people, because I think, I mean, that makes sense. It's like, we're gonna save up for it. We're not gonna borrow it. But if townspeople want it sooner, then we have to be willing to reallocate, or we have to be willing to bond,
Right.
or something like that.
this is the way I could make even
Yeah,
getting there.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, no, I
quadrupling our
appreciate it.
savings.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
And that's
I can
barring any
see.
major setbacks with the.
That's right,
abutments
and I
too, right?
do,
Right.
but I also do point out that at some point, the covered bridge is gonna be closed. So next year, we will have those two bridges closed at the same time for some period of time.
Yes.
Okay.
We are going
I
to
just
be,
think people need to understand that.
we are going to be having a bunch of challenging conversations with taxpayers because I am not confident in the fire trucks savings rates at this time. I'm not, I don't
Based
think,
on current
450.
equipment cost,
yeah,
No, the cheapest truck out there right now is 750.
right.
yeah,
And
stock off,
Stock,
just
yeah.
stock off the lot.
Take what they've got and that's what you get
that is a terrible,
without any
yeah, I don't,
modifications.
I don't see, like, if we can address, I wasn't comfortable raising the sinking fund rate this year with this because of the $15,000 increase last year. But if you guys do want to make some form of adjustment, try and get out ahead of some of these costs, I don't see how we're going to be able to make the numbers work at this time, without a fire act grant or something like that buying us a truck at some point. We can bet on if one truck we get a grant for over 15 years, that smooths out a lot of this effort. I cannot capital plan for that.
No.
And
You can't.
how we even get to be even capital plan for replacing all these vehicles, the math terrifies me. But that's a conversation for, tonight's conversation is, do we want to start saving even more? And we could.
I'm not, I can't contemplate that. I'm at the outer limit of what I can support. If you guys want to put, I mean, I feel that this year was about the employees. Last year was about capital equipment. If we need to look at savings rate next year, which will be challenging in other ways, we can do that. But we just upped this. We can't up it
I
again.
agree with you.
And one of the things
I
that
agree.
sometimes happens is you order a fire truck, you don't get it for 2 years.
Yeah.
And
Correct.
so you have a chance to catch up. And that's not to, I totally believe what you're saying about 750. Maybe we'll have a nice recession and all the prices will come down.
Yeah.
I'm an economist, I can't help it.
Yes, ultimately, the fire truck capital budgeting scenario is probably the thing that will give me nightmares until the end of my career.
Yeah,
And
we'll make it work. We'll
We
make it work.
And
We'll
we
make it
can
work.
thoughtfully.
And when the fire truck
It's just
urgently
something we need
needs
to
to
think
be
about throughout the next year.
replaced, and when we can see, okay, 2 years from now, we're gonna need to replace, that's when you start upping it, because it's right there, and
Yeah.
that's when you can.
And we need to keep our eyes out on any grant opportunities that could
Definitely.
arise and take
Definitely.
advantage of that.
and there's really only one grant program out there that does this, and that's the fire grant.
What are the numbers in 2024, 28 years, 17 years? What are those? Is that how long we're,
That's how many more years before
What?
they're replaced.
how many more
Oh,
years?
no,
No,
Not.
That's how old they are
That's
when you.
years.
That's the
Service.
lifespan.
That's a
the
lifespan.
lifespan of each of those vehicles.
from now, I don't
No,
understand.
no, it's 28 years.
So
from
this
all
truck
four.
right here,
Yes.
FD
40
77
okay, right.
will be 28 years old in 2028. It's a 1999.
That's
Yeah, that's its
It'll be
lifespan.
28 years.
This truck right here will be 28 at this point. And that's what we plan to replace
Right.
it. Same with
Oh,
that one.
But
okay,
that
okay,
That'll be
450,000 is actually about 750,000.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I just, there were so many numbers
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
I couldn't
28
straighten it out.
years
No,
is
that's,
the
no, I
life
see,
expectancy.
I didn't see the dates when they were born. I didn't see when they were born. Yeah, birthdays.
Judicious so diligent saving will also give us the opportunity to act on opportunities on the used market in the intermediate term. That's gonna dry up in the next couple of years, but I
So
can't plan for that yet.
just
Um,
in this whole plan right here, the 2004 brush truck, that was a federal fire act grant. And we went out and sought private donations for the town's 10%. That was a $75,000 truck when we
Mac,
purchased.
Mac help with that?
Mac did several residents in town. I believe, I'm not sure if it was the Stratton Foundation or one of them.
Stratton
help out.
Their grant spec.
But the $7,500 did not come from taxpayer money. That truck was basically.
These
rebate
are
for us.
the projected year replacements. So
Yeah.
correspond with the
Yeah,
numbers.
they're a little
going
bit
across.
flexible based on what my budget numbers were, but
You know, there's a
it's a
good
guidepost
opportunity
of what we're
change
trying
Yeah.
to.
to think
Uh,
about, can we get another Fire Act grant to replace the 2004 earlier? And even though we're saving towards planning for that replacement, then that gets reallocated back,
So when we
right?
replace 77, will we call the new truck 77?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
That is what we do.
so we don't retire the number?
We
We
don't
do not
retire
know,
them.
because our numbers are, set by the county.
Yeah,
It
So-
just
Got
gets
it.
born again.
Arlington,
Right,
Arlington's are
right.
7,
right.
Shasbury's are
The
6.
seven, got it,
Yeah.
Yeah,
got it.
It's
so-
just a
Perfect.
rebirth thing.
No, it's
Yeah.
wonderful, wonderful.
Reincarnation.
Reincarnation. Did the, never
So yeah,
die.
that did confuse me when we bought the new truck and when we had 275s running around at the same time.
Now
Yeah,
274s.
Yes, 274, sorry about that.
74A,
but yeah.
74B.
So,
I know
Okay.
somebody who's using tractors from the
is
seven.
there any other changes to the, warning?
So, yes. I do
Look
not
good
see.
to me.
I think it looks
Yep.
good.
Okay, so we will need let's do a motion to approve the capital plan as presented, and that will then unlock the ability to approve the warning as presented.
Capital plan first, warning second.
Motion to approve the capital plan as presented?
Yes.
I'll second.
Motion made by Cynthia and seconded by Glenn or Matt to, approve the capital plan as presented. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Okay.
And then the warning?
Warning. So motion to approve the warning as edited,
Okay.
and then sign the third page.
Did you give me a copy?
So
of
this
the
is,
application?
this is your review copy. That can be it doesn't really have.
Okay,
Um,
there's an extra page to that one.
Yeah.
Just blank.
Yeah, it's gonna fill the pages actually really well. It's gonna look nice.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the town meeting warning, as presented and revised at the select board meeting, January 27th, 2025. Motion to approve warning.
I'll second.
Motion made by Cynthia and seconded by Matt to approve the warning dated for March 3rd of 2025 at dated this January 27th and signed by the rest of the board. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Move that version and
I'll pass it around.
then the select board report is the last piece. If we want to approve that version as edited by Matt, or we can.
I don't know if I did.
Hear that quick.
So you want to approve the select board report as edited?
I make a motion to approve the Arlington Select Board's report for the town meeting report, including the headings provided by Mr. Bukowski. Motion to approve the reports.
Second.
Motion made by Cynthia and seconded by Glenn to approve the select board's letter for the town report. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Okay. That's you. We're ready for warrants.
Yeah.
I have nothing to report on. You read my PA report.
Here's
There's
the,
nothing particularly.
I had
here's
nothing.
the signed warning.
Thank you. I will go put it on the table and process it in the morning.
In this page somewhere.
Probably page was missing. Or no, there it is.
We just keep this.
Go.
Oh, yeah.
Who is it?
Okay.
I've been up since.
Slip in.
Most of these meetings are past my bedtime.
Around the-
So I'm starting to train myself right now for the spring, because I've been sleeping till 7. I'm like, this is gonna become like a rude awakening if I don't start now.
Hey.
I don't know.
I'll work on that.
Seven.
For my sister. I'm trying to get all the numbers together.
Oh, yeah. I can get you the number. I should, we'll have to print out because my mom's left, or she's leaving tomorrow.
Just give me a
On
number
all other
so that I can-
business, Nick, do you have any?
I have nothing to
anything you wanna
report.
add to your report? Okay. If not, then we'll move on to the warrants and orders. Let's see, water department first.
Okay, key elements of this warrant will be health premiums, 1,543. Hydrants using ARPA funds, 8,744. Water meter replacements, $1,996.50. It's just noteworthy that this is something we only just said we were gonna do and we're doing it. So that's really good. So I make a motion to approve check warrant report number WD2 dated 1/24/25, being the operating cost for the Arlington Water Department. Motion to approve the total of $16,555.22.
Second.
$555.
$555.22.
Motion made by Cynthia. Is there a second?
Jamie.
Seconded by Jamie to approve check warrant report WD number 2 in the total amount of $16,555.22. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, the next warrant is gonna be the operations of the town. Just to hit the highlights, the health insurance premiums, again, important element, 17,960. Fire department, maintenance funded by ARPA, 10,264. Audit work to WHR Smith, 5,800. We know how important that is, keeping us on track. So I make a motion to approve check warrant report number 2 dated 1/24/25, being the invoices for the town of Arlington General Fund. Motion to approve the total of $75,191.49.
Second.
Motion made by Cynthia and seconded by Jamie to approve check warrant report number 2 in the total amount of $75,191.49. All those in favor signify by saying
Aye.
aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, if there's no other business to be brought before the board, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Motion made by Matt and seconded by Glenn. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.